Okay, so you're getting a handle on being calm and relaxed, okay? And you're taking that out and you're stretching it out into the different quadrants or sections in your life, like, health, wealth, relationships, vocation, all that sort of thing. And you're starting to get the results, right? And you're starting to work your way up the energetic hierarchy, let's say. And so you're moving from the lower three seals, power, pleasure, pain, into unity consciousness, into expressing yourself through either your art, speech, sound, the way you behave, the way you carry yourself in the world. Your energy is radiating. You're starting to tap into the sixth center, so you're perceiving realities yet that most people are unaware of. And your energy is moving up and out the top of your head, and that energy is refining and tuning in all the other centers, and you're starting to tap into a really large bandwidth of energy, which has the capacity to carry a large amount of information. And so, like Jordan Peterson talks about the hierarchy, right? And I think one of the videos he did is like, what's the, basically, I can't remember exactly what he said, but it's something like, what are the good things to have in a character that embodies, the God consciousness, basically. And one of them was, I think he was talking about Marduk, the god, Mesopotamian god, I think it was. And his thing was like, he was able to identify things that were abstract, and he had the ability of long sight, right? And so he was able to organize things into, say, structures and see through the veils. And so what you're doing now is you're going to move your conscious awareness up the hierarchy all the way to the top and beyond, to the point where you're past the hierarchy in terms of awareness. And, one of the things that is going to come up is, you're going to like, how do I do this, and what is it going to sort of look like? And so I was thinking about this on the way home from doing my grocery shopping, and it's like, for all those warriors out there, who are in the archetype of the warrior and are trying to fight through the ranks of the hierarchy or the system entirely. Just be aware that that's just a character you're playing along the way, and then when you do transcend all that, those levels, that you'll be the warrior, but you'll no longer be bound by the archetype of the warrior. It reminds me of, what's above the archetype in, when you're a warrior, where you can move up to the emperor or the king, right? And from there, the hierophant, and or the hermit and the hierophant, and as it goes through the arcana. And so it reminds me of that animated show, The Road to El Dorado, and they're talking, they've been mistaken for gods. They found the city of El Dorado, the golden city. They're being showered in gold, and everyone's like looking at them as though they're gods. And they're trying to work out how they can, swindle as much gold out of that place and then take it back to Spain. And he's like, Kevin Kline is one of the voices, and he's like, we will get all the gold and we'll take it back to Spain and we'll live like kings. And his partner in crime is like, kings are a little bit of a step down from God, don't you think? because he's having other ideas of staying in character, right? Staying in the God-like character and living there, right? And playing with this idea of embodying what the other people are projecting onto him. And so, you know, when we're rising up the hierarchy, you're going to be shedding these characters that you're so familiar with, right? That you identify with. This is who I am, you know. And you're going to start to take on different roles. Okay, so let's look at the warrior in context of someone who's pursuing martial arts, like myself, right? And like many people that I know of. And so maybe you start off, you've had some kind of event, or you've seen something that inspired you, whether it's either you led towards it through inspiration, or you're pushed into it through some kind of event that was negative, and you decide, okay, I need to do this, either because it's really cool or because I need to have it in my toolkit. Well, then you're going to start pursuing this career as the warrior and developing yourself as the warrior, and developing all these abilities, right? And I remember back in my 20s when I started to get pretty good at the style that I was learning at the time. I was also playing inline roller hockey at a competitive level, A-grade competitive level at the local club. And I was at a party with some friends who I played on the team with. And he's one of the guys who's kind of the clown of the team, was like, Brett, show us some moves, you know, show us how you do. If I was to do this, what would you do? If I was to do that, what would you do? Which is a real common scenario that people want you to display your ability, right? See if it's worth, if you know, your money's where your mouth is, sort of thing. And so I did a bit of a demo with him, and he was just like, wow, you know, man, if I had that ability, I'd just be smashing cunts left, right, and center. And I was like, well, you know what? That's probably why you don't have the ability, right? Because you'd abuse the ability. And even second thought, you know, like even if you did go down the path and you put the work in and you cultivated that ability, you wouldn't even think about doing that stuff, right? I mean, you might think about it, cross your mind, but you wouldn't, you know, take it seriously. You wouldn't give it any serious thought. You'd just be moving on to your next goal, right? And so, you know, maybe from a warrior's perspective, one of your goals would be to learn this stuff and to get good at this stuff, so you could take on a protector role for your loved ones, okay? Or if it was in another context, you'd want to provide a good future for your family, okay? Which is great. Like that's at the beginning, okay? And then you get into it, and then you realize, well, you know, maybe perhaps they're not listening to my instruction to stay safe, right? Maybe they're putting themselves in danger in silly situations, or taking things off track to this future that I want to provide for them, because they're unaware of certain things. And so you go, okay, well, maybe if I pursued, you know, this, maybe if I displayed my abilities through competition, not instead of smashing cunts, I would go and I would compete, you know, within rules, and I would make a career out of that. And a lot of people do, and I know people that are doing that right now, and they are right knee deep, neck deep, they're right into it, and they're doing very, very well. And if your goal was to, provide space for your family and all that sort of stuff, then maybe you'd realize, finally they're taking notice of you because you're a champion, and now everyone else is, and then you go, hang on, well, this is going well for me, this is great, but while I'm training so hard and competing, my family is, I can't be there, and I can't always be there. So maybe you realize, hey, maybe if I started teaching that, they would be able to look after themselves, or at least get themselves out of trouble when I'm not around. And so you go from a warrior role into a teacher role. And then you start teaching, and then you realize, your family takes notice and they pay attention and they start learning, and then your family grows and you start, becoming a pillar of this community, someone that people bring their kids to, or someone that people come to for advice, or, you start to become more of a counselor as well. You move into these other roles, right? And you start moving up in levels of consciousness and scale, let's say, because now it's not about being a warrior so much anymore. You are a warrior, but now you're not a warrior anymore. Your role has increased in capacity, and one of the things as you're going through this process, in whatever context you want to, it could be, I've just been looking into, some music videos and following the careers and stories of these singers and songwriters and rappers and music producers. And one of them was, Kanye West. And you can say whatever you like about the guy, but it doesn't even matter because he's doing his thing anyway. But I remember seeing an interview way back in 2002 where he was just young and on the scene, just getting started, and he's like, I got something to say. I want to talk about what's going on in this world and what I'm seeing, and playing this role of the warrior, I guess, to stay in context with the story of this video. And then over time, we've seen his evolution, let's say, and, all the way up to the massive success and the good or bad press, and then, the breakdown, breakthrough, where, people have committed the guy to, mental health places because probably he's perceiving a whole lot of things that other people are totally unaware of, and having to deal with that individually, right? Because as you move up the scale and you start to tap into these larger currents, you start to see things a lot deeper and a lot wider, and you start to see the subtleties. And the other part is that as you start to increase in your energy and your abilities and your reach and your influence, there's going to be people like, my old teammate, who are going to tell you what you should do with your abilities, even though they don't have your ability, right? Because somewhere along the line, they're going to sense that, to match you or to surpass you is going to take a hell of a lot of work. And from where they're sitting, it's probably just better to, start to sabotage, disrupt, and try and manipulate and redirect and control your ability for their purposes, which I'm sure, Kanye went through, and a lot of other musicians went through, and some didn't make it out the other end, as we know. So you go through all this, does your new state that you're showing up in, does your new persona, your new role, is it robust enough to stand against the critique of the world, And so clearly, you know, the guy's come through that and he's only bigger and stronger in his own, you know, like that song Stronger. He's only, you know, going from strength to strength now. But there came that point of the breakthrough, I think, was, and I don't think many people get this, is that that's transcending the hierarchy. Like, it's going beyond being the emperor. Like, you're getting to, you know, you've gone through the arcana and you're back to, you know, you're just out of it and you have access to every single layer now. It's like the layer that is above has access to the one that precedes it, but is not bound or controlled or influenced by it anymore. That it has access to all what was in there. And so every layer below is like subordinate to that. And, you know, like I said, you can say whatever you like about the guy, and a lot of people have, and he's just one of them. Elon Musk is another one. You know, you name all these people that are doing things that are, let's say, disruptive, or people will call them eccentric, but, you know, they're operating at a level that most people just don't understand what the hell they're doing, right? And so you start to acquire these abilities, this influence, you're cultivating more and more energy, you're putting it into all these parts of your life, you're creating wealth and abundance, which is a byproduct of moving this energy up and through you. You tap into all that. And like with Kanye West and with Elon Musk, they get to the point where they've had enough of all the rules and controls and the boxing of their personalities and their character, and they say, screw this, we're going to pick up, we're going to move everything way out into a place in the country or a different country where the rules that you're trying to get us to fall into don't apply anymore, and we're going to become completely independent and sovereign and do our own thing, right? And you know, then when you start doing that, everyone has an opinion. You know what, if I had the money, I would do this with it. I would be a better person than them. It's like, yeah, well, it's not your money, it's their money, and it's their influence and their position in the world, and they get to do whatever they want to do with it, and they don't care what you say, because, you know, they've been through all the scrutiny already. It doesn't matter what you say. Actually, what you say doesn't matter, right, at that level, because they've transcended it. They've owned that level of conscious awareness, right? So if you're down here in power, pleasure, pain, competing and manipulating and lying and when you get up to here and above, you just see that you're outside of all that, seeing into it. And then, you know, people just, they go, oh, well, you know, I see what they're doing, so I'm not going to participate in that, and we'll just go somewhere else. We'll take our bat and ball and go home, or we'll just pack up the factory and move to a different state or country, right? Or, you know, in Kanye's situation, we'll just leave LA, or, you know, buy thousands of acres of property, you know, 100,000 acres of over several properties, and we'll just create our own world out there, right? So that's like Pharaoh level, right? We heard that about like Akhenaten, the stories of Akhenaten in ancient Egypt, just picked up and left Cairo and went out into the desert and built a whole new city, right? Got rid of all the gods and started worshipping the sun and had their own culture, right? And, you know, after he died, then they changed it all back again. But during the time there, that's how it was. So, and, you know, we've seen that now with Elon Musk too, moving out the factory out to Texas, and then now we've got the factory in China and Germany, and I think there's plans to do one here in Australia and India and all over every continent where there's people, you know. Probably Africa will be another one in the future, I'm sure. And so, and maybe Russia, who knows. So, you know, these people are operating at you know, at obviously a high level of wealth, but consciousness as well. So when they start to do things, the hierarchies, the levels of the hierarchy below start to follow suit and fall in line. And that's why you have so many of these people have so many followers. And, you know, for people who aren't interested in what they're doing, it seems maybe cultish, or, you know, like, oh, they're just fanboys, you know, or whatever. But they have this level of influence over the levels below, which, you know, apart from having large amounts of wealth to be able to manifest things quickly, to create the worlds around them for other people to buy into and to fall into, they're also tapping into a larger current of energy, which has a lot more information in it, which means, you know, the further down the road you can see, or the better optics you have on the present moment and the levels within it, then, you know, you get into this sort of, it's like having a crystal ball. It's like having access to the AI computer, right? It's that Christ, Buddha, God consciousness, that you have this high level of intuition that you can start to help you. It helps move you through time and space into all these areas to keep allowing it to work through you, right? And so, you know, going back into my last video, like, when you know that that's sort of the roadmap, you know, the hero's journey is to transcend the hierarchy, transcend it, not destroy it and bring it down, because, you know, there's the structure is there, and it's been unconsciously shaped over, you know, however long life has been going on this planet, at least. You know, this is all like all the survival instincts, all the learnings from everything that's lived and died, that's connected to the super consciousness. You know, all of that big data has been uploaded into social consciousness now, or the noosphere, as some people have put it, the collective conscious. And so that's like, you know, operating system version 2021.2, right? And so when we're looking at it from that perspective, all this pushing against things that are already there, you know, I understand the frustration, you know, because you want to be free from the hierarchy. You really do. I get it. And sometimes it's, you know, all you feel like is you're just being pushed around by and controlled by those at the top. But the thing is you don't need to stay there, right? There's plenty of room at the top. That's the thing about the top of the mountain. There's lots of space up there, even though, you know, there's a smaller space there. There's lots of space there because hardly anyone decides to transcend. You know, a lot of people just stay in the bottom rungs. You know, the bottom base blocks of the pyramid. You know, and they live out their lives there, and nothing wrong with that. But it's not something I would choose. me show you something. See if I can show you here. Look who's there. Hello. Hey, puppy. What you doing? Can you come up? Can you come up the stairs? Can you come up the ladder? There's plenty of room up here for you. Can you come up though? Or maybe not today, but one day you'll definitely be able to get up here. Alright? And so rather than getting all frustrated and struggle up the ladder and perhaps fall down and, you know, all that sort of stuff, instead of putting yourself at risk like that and getting all uptight and fighting against and getting frustrated, like, just let me up, right? Instead, go back and start working on your energetic vocabulary, let's say, and start tuning yourself in, knowing that that's the climb you're going to have to make, right? To get up into the driver's seat, let's say, and to align yourself with that higher level of consciousness, right? And so when you're not there, that's fine. Don't complain that you're not there. Get to work and start doing what you need to do to get yourself into a position where you can be there. You know? The other part of this is when you're up there, let's say, metaphorically speaking, and you know, they say, oh, you know, now it's time to be of service. Well, it's true, because, you know, you want to help. I want her up here with me, right? But you've earned the right to intervene or not at that point. Okay, so it's up to you how you decide to support and help people make that journey. Speaking of which, I better get down there and help her out somehow. Or at least spend time with her at the level that she's at.